Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar, Save Time and Money, How to Do a One-Page Business Plan Before You Go All In. I'm Tim Ryan, and I'm the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'll be your host. This webinar is sponsored by M&T Bank, and I believe Paul Amato is with us. And Paul, if you'll be patient with me, let me promote you so that you can now speak. Paul, you want to say a few words?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for having us. We're proud to sponsor SCORE. It's been a great partnership. A little bit about M&T Bank. We're the 7th largest SBA lender in the entire country, 5th largest here in Connecticut specifically, which I believe once we complete our acquisition of People's United Bank, which is slated for Memorial Day weekend in May, if all things go according to plan, we will become the 2nd largest SBA lender in Connecticut, right behind Webster Bank. So very proud to sponsor SCORE and all the events. And if any of the business owners on here have any questions or concerns, I'll be putting my information in the chat. So feel free to reach out with any questions.
Thanks, Paul. Our presenter today is Bill Schloth. More on Bill in just a minute. First, some brief info on SCORE. There's over 320 offices and 11,000 volunteers nationwide. We're part of the Small Business Administration. SCORE Fairfield County itself has over 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer 3 primary value-added services to small business owners. First, free one-on-one counseling. Second, educational workshops and webinars, over 100 per year. And third, extensive resources on our website, including Word and Excel templates to help you build your business plan. SCORE puts on many webinars each month. Look for future events on our webinar calendar at fairfieldcounty.score.org. Some useful information about today. If you have any questions, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It's located in the lower part of your screen. Our webinar will end at 1 p.m. to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be on our website within the next couple of days. Now our speaker. Bill Schloth has been investing in, managing, buying, and selling startup and emerging businesses for over 25 years. He spent 20 years as an investment banker, working with a wide range of companies in various industries across the globe. He has been involved with numerous IPOs and enjoys the thrill of the deal. Mr. Schloth is a CPA and has an MBA in marketing from New York University. Bill, take it away.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. And Paul, congrats on the acquisition. It's a great one. Pleasure to be speaking with you guys, everyone today around the holidays. One thing I really like to start out with is I'm a serial entrepreneur, I like to call it now, especially at the end of where I'm at. And part of what I love to have happen is, of course, is education here. I share some of my war stories and lessons learned, but also I'm super big about trying to motivate whoever's on the phone to take that next step. So classic question whenever you say, hey, how can you tell someone is an entrepreneur? Really, that person will tell you. It'd be their excitement. And, this is the whole purpose. SCORE, wants people to come out and ask questions. I'm a big believer, with 58 now, and it's just been a lot of ups and downs, but attitude, keeping that positive attitude, I feel is super important. And I say this early on because I want people to try what they're thinking. It's how the small business world really evolves and now flourishes, which I've been in for 30 years. Even when I'm saying that word, top reasons, a lot of times people talk about small business. They say, hey, top reasons startups fail. You really have to switch that attitude, in my opinion, to just the challenges you guys are going to face out there during that process of trying to succeed. Now, what I want to talk about, because it ties into everything we will discuss today, is the number one reason that is out there, why businesses, the challenges you're all going to face is making that proper product, service, something of interest, and knowing that you're doing fairly good at that before you, as it says in the beginning, dive all in. Now, the second reason, the second challenge most companies face to succeed is that running out of cash. And SCORE, I know with Tim, I've done a couple of them on different opportunities to get money, and where we talk about MT Bank and the SBA lending, those are all options. But let's put it this way, don't take it wrong. Running out of cash, really, that is, you never want to end up chasing cash in a way. So if you can improve on that first step, meet that challenge better on the first step, the less likely you are going to be running out of cash. The other reasons I identified below, you can see them on the screen. I won't stay and go through each one, but it does touch on some of those items as we go through our presentation. But please just take it with the form we'll send. Let me step back. We actually sent out a form to everybody that was registered. It was a 10-page form, and it's a real helpful tool to use probably later. It's a lot to try to digest maybe now, but I also sent a link in the chat to a quicker tool. I'm big, it's not in person. It makes it a little harder for me to dance around, but there's a form, there's a link in that chat that is going to go through and give you an opportunity to just toss some notes into yourself on some of the items we're going to discuss. That would be great to just start getting things flushed out as we go through it. So I just wanted to mention those if you wanted to look in your email box. Now, as I said before, and at the top of that list, at the heart of the challenges startups face, it's really that one core reason, which falls into, we can be wasting, I hate that word, but needless time, money, and effort building something nobody wants. So you have to say to yourself, I have the 35 years in experience, spent a lot of times in a room with just one other person, designing, discussing, building, modeling business plans. And you know what? When I look back on all that, I'm like, son of a gun, I should have just been out talking to people. What do you think of this idea? Going to visit someone that maybe is a customer. Before I ended up with this fancy, spent a lot of time business plan. And that's the message I want everybody to get today, is about, let's see if we can validate more where you're heading before you start ending up. And there's a lot of importance to the business plans in the end, but just let's see how much we can figure out if we're on the right track before we go deep. There's a technical term to the tool I'm using, and it's called the Lean Business Canvas. And the document to your right of this page is the document that was sent out to you all. You can also request it, and we can send another version. I believe it was sent in the Word version. But what that document does is we're going to break down your business idea, service, product, or existing business into 9 blocks. I'm going to try to end up at the end of this exercise with you having a visual, 1-page visual path to taking the classic case of a problem or someone wants, some needs, into a successful business. So you can see if we can end up with something, obviously it's only a start, but it starts to bring everything into one place that you can actually sit in front of someone and start getting better comfort that, hey, I'm heading in the right direction. And then you make changes again before we start heading with that whiteboard and documenting all the details in a business plan. Super important, because we've had a number of these, and we had a real interesting one where we had with SCORE, there was actually people doing their own little canvas while we were going through this exercise. Now, I would love to be standing in front of you, because if you are typing away, starting to take notes as we go through each block, that's really cool, because it just starts you thinking this process. And at one point, hey, where does it hurt sending it to a SCORE mentor? the start you have of this, it can hurt. So one thing I want to stress though is everybody says, well, we did that, we're done. No, this exercise of going through 9 building blocks should just keep going on. I've had companies do it that were literally saying, I want to sell a lawn mowing business. And they did this, and that's great. But I also have companies that are 10 years old, revisiting their strategies, thinking about options. So that tool's out there. I won't go back into the history of it. It's evolved a lot, but it's a business planning canvas. The building blocks, we're going to break everything down into today. We only have, and I'll have to watch the time. I like to talk. We have an hour, so I'm going to take 2 examples, 2 particular examples that will help, but let me explain a little bit about the 9 blocks. The order goes, really is in this order. Now, usually someone asks me, why does it jump all over the place? Still not 100% sure on how it does, but you'll see. Customer segments you want to look at. The problem that exists in the market. These are going in order because revenue streams. How are you going to drive money to what you're doing? The solutions you're providing to the problem. Block 5 is, you've heard of it, I'm sure a number, you may have been to some of the score accounts, the unique value proposition that you're offering. How you're going to get to who you want to get to, those customers. Sometimes when I use the word lean business canvas, that was, I forget to, and I always want to add during these, the nonprofits, to me, all are in the same situation too. This is says a lean business canvas, but you'll see there's a nonprofit mission canvas that's fairly similar. You just got to change your word customer, for instance, to beneficiaries. So I don't want to limit it to nonprofits and pursuing some of your passions. Those are really cool moves to make as well. And that is a business, in my opinion. Oh, moving over to block 7 is how you're going to manage the business. What are you going to watch? Cost structure. This is where we have to watch the equation when we see how much money we can bring. If it's costing you more to produce and deliver that, that's a real big warning. And then finally, it's just an unfair advantage. So I gave you the pieces we're going to walk through. I want to point to the left of this. You're going to see those items are going to be more under your control. It's more about the product and service, and these items are the market and things that are a little less out of your control. I said in the nonprofit mission, you'll just see if they wanted to do one of these for a nonprofit, some of the terms change, but we're happy to get you those forms as you need them. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to break down the key blocks, and I'm going to use some well-known situation that's having, I get my daughter's flying in from the UK, and she's bringing a baby, and I've had more Amazon deliveries to my house than I could imagine after over the last 2 days. But what I'm going to do to sort of display this is, what did Amazon's business plan canvas look like back in 1994? And I broke it down that way because I also didn't want to go too far. I'm also going to talk through, depending on time, another lean business canvas that I actually did with someone. It's a food truck business. And it's a little, Amazon is up there, but I want to just add as many examples as possible. Probably we'll have to roll through them quick, but I'll just bring up this food business. You know who Amazon is. I wanted to just read, because this is block 5. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want you to understand this business because it might be helpful. Even again, guys, if I saw you writing in the audience, taking notes, or just starting to do yours, it'd be great to see. So what this was healthier fast food. It was many years ago, so now there's a lot of it. But the unique value proposition, our services offers a unique combination of health, convenience, and variety. Our proprietary cooking techniques, locally sourced and organic ingredients make us the ideal food truck for individuals seeking to save time while living a healthier lifestyle. That was their block 5. I wanted to explain that earlier because you'll see how we build on that. High-level concept that ends up in block 5 was simply a healthy fast food that reaches customers on the go via food truck franchise, as well as distribution of a branded product or merchandise. So I'll keep moving along because I decided to add this one different than Amazon because I think everybody starts saying, I could never be an Amazon. Who knows? But this is a smaller version. So we're going to start with that block one, your customers. And for a nonprofit, that NP that I'm using upstairs, it would be the people benefiting from your mission that you're trying to deliver. These questions are all in the document that we sent, and we can also send you. It's also on the electronic link form that talks about. So I won't spend that much time on them, but you'll see how Amazon answered them. I want you to just read them probably with them. Who is your intended audience? What type of person do you anticipate benefiting the most from your solution? Is there one group or a couple of groups we anticipate itching to sign up? When you talk about early adopters, extremely important because then you might lean heavily on them to get feedback and input without sort of going out to someone that may spread some word. Who will be the first to try your product? Why will this group want first dibs? Moving to Amazon. So Amazon 1994. Who were their customers? Frankly, it was those who buy books. And when they started thinking about it, early adopters were the avid book readers that use the internet, willing to make some purchases online, and like to explore books. Those are the early adopters. Quite a large audience, obviously. Moving back to Munch and Move. When we took this customer segment, it was again ways back because they had only lunch, but breakfast and lunch, their customer segments were working people, students, the rest of the day, park visitors, tourists, event attendees. So it's defining your customers. And the early adopters were, again, those students. They were trying to put themselves right outside of a university at first, and then it expanded. They do have, I think, 4 trucks in different states, cities in Connecticut. Referrals, early adopters, sometimes you get to think of the word referrals. Who can refer me here? It doesn't have to be an individual person. Maybe it's a group of people. But early adopters is definitely brainstorm about who, that might be a whole group rather than just one person. The top problems were into block 2 and needs. Super important to just make sure, again, we're addressing a need or a problem, because if you're not going to get that sales. And what does it come down to? What are the crucial problems facing the customers we just talked about? What's their frustration is sometimes the word. Whenever you hear someone say you're talking to them and it relates to your business and they say I have a frustration, that word is a great word to just like set off a light bulb in your head. In this area, top problems, you'll see existing alternatives. I was never big, especially when the internet first came out. I used to have people say, I have no competition at all. Now, I really don't believe there's always a version of some competition. What actually realizing that, looking into them, is so much more beneficial than think, no one's making any of this, because everybody's doing some piece of something. Now, Amazon, when it started, boy, there were people maybe thinking they just took it and ran with it. How else can your customers address their problems? I just want everybody to think about competitors rather than thinking, I think I got it. I think it's the only one out there. What products already exist and who are you up against? This way it helps you define, what barriers you're going to run into. So in the problem area, what Amazon saw is, bookstores are expensive. I go back and a lot of them, unfortunately, obviously with the internet, have gone out of business. Bookstores have limited inventory. It's hard to find books and get recommendations just at bookstores. Not knocking anyone, you'd usually go to that main desk and you'd start asking the person, they'd give the recommendation. And what alternatives do people have at that problem? Really just bookstores. Famous catalogs they could get and look in there. And there was the book clubs. I remember a lot of still plenty of book clubs. So if I move over to the Munch, just to keep it back to like a food truck business, more simple. The problem, finding healthy dining options more conveniently. Be great if you can bring your thoughts down to this, wow, finding healthy dining options more conveniently. There were no restaurants walking distance from, they were originally saying Stanford, but citizens are not able to easily access healthy food options at food trucks. And we all know that stage a while back, there's healthier hot dogs now, I think. But, and then healthier options though, as they started evolving, it had longer wait times. So there was some problems they were dealing with. Existing alternatives, they dealt with a barbecue truck and some prepackaged salads, some coleslaws, sandwiches. Just gonna make sure I'm keeping along here. Third, revenue streams. What's the lifeblood of the company? What's going to drive income to you? Amazon, book sales. Way back when, I'm not sure everybody knows, but when Amazon first came out, shipping was a huge revenue model for them. Over in the food truck business area, they started with 2 trucks and well, they have 5, in 5 cities. Then they moved into like one of their streams is they started developing their own tomato sauce, and an Italian restaurant owner started it. And now they are trying to brand some of that. Block 4, the solutions to the problem, that problems usually, you can usually end up, and it's best to have 2 or 3 problems that someone's experiences. How is your product or service solving the problem? Define the top 3 features and capabilities of your product or service offering to solve your user's problem. There's where users, that could obviously be anything, a customer. So what was Amazon's solution? Boy, it's an amazing where it's come, but the website that sells all books available. What we talked about, getting reviews. You all know how to do this. I know this sounds weird, but web-based customer reviews, it's all about what it is now. And these are the book days too, which is interesting, as now it's the delivery mechanism they have, and ship direct from distributors. Their model, well, I gotta get grammar check, but their model, we all know. It's just amazing how they fulfill orders now. I try not to jump around, but if you're starting up a business, there is a lot of software, simple tools you can use that don't cost you a lot. I want you to look for them, i.e., as an example, there's no reason you should look into building your own delivery platform. Amazon itself is such a monster with fulfillment and delivering things. You could explore. They have various partnership models that they just jump on their delivery mechanism. I just wanted you to think about that, because it's just amazing how they do. And the efficient warehouse, that's what it was way back when, sort of core, but now it's just the official delivery model is incredible. Block 4 on the food truck business. The solution was the convenience of a food truck, but with healthier options. And it's funny, I just share with you, it's again, this is older, but it's the gentleman that started this. He ended up on Top Chef's TV show as a specialist, not in food truck necessarily, but he took his expertise and came to put it into a truck. Now, nowadays, obviously, it's unfortunate with COVID, all this is going along where a lot of the restaurants have to go into that, but their solution was speed for fast food, but healthier. Unique value proposition. SCORE does numerous things on this, and it is one of the biggest, to just be able to tell someone in a short sentence, hey, this is what I do, and how it can help you. They want to hear those words, how it can help you avoid your frustration, but it needs to be deeply thought out. So that's why SCORE has its own specific, develop your elevator pitch. You'll hear that term too, but it's your product and solution. A UVP, I just want to say, be easy to understand in 5 seconds. Communicate the benefit the customer receives from using your product or service. Explain how your offering is different and better than competitors. high level concept, it talks about how does your product or service fit into the bigger picture. This is in block 5. I know this sounds, like a lot of information, but when you whittle it down, it's going to be great to have the notes underline the document. When you end up with that one page in front of you and keep reviewing it and sitting down with people to tweak it, you're going to see how it evolves. And then you're going, bingo, time to put together the full business plan. So Amazon, well, simply put, their high level concept, what they ended up becoming is the Earth's largest bookstore. The supermarket of bookstores online. That was their UVP ended up being that way. Channel 6, when we talk about now, how do we get to the customer? My background with the marketing, I've lived and breathed now digital marketing since it's been out. And I can tell any small business owner, big business owner, the field for getting your message out there, guys, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, digitally, is just so much better now than it was in the past. And we can compete with the big guys. There's software you can buy that will help you do a lot of this. So you can get to your customers, but digital has to be an important part of it. Where will they find out about your company? Both digital, traditional. I'm not saying the traditional walking around, still hugely important. I don't want you standing just in front of the computer. But will it be through social media? We all have to have a piece of that. Just don't be scared of it. You have even finding an intern that can help you with it. These guys love that stuff, and they're super at it. Let's let them go. Channels to customer for Amazon. Their channels was direct to consumer through the website. And when it first came out, it doesn't work anymore, because in those days, though, hitting someone 1 or 2 times at an email, they'd be like, oh, this is great stuff, and they'd buy. Now email has obviously become, it's a lot more effort you need to put into it, but then there's so many other mechanisms to get there. It is the text, it is the video, it is the YouTube. All again, nothing to be scared of. Because the software they now have out there that you can use can get you to thousands of people. We someone who's working on the real estate company just ended up getting so targeted to say they want to sell a home online to a certain age group, and they ended up getting in front of 5,000 people. I just want everybody to realize that the ability to get your name out there, which is super important, is not that costly these days. So the food truck business, this was early on, but they originally parked in Scalzi Park, was where they first started. And there was more concerts down in Stamford at that point. But social media, they started using early, and they then had started someone just doing their own. It wasn't really almost even blogging at that point, but that was their channels they started to use. Block 7. The metrics, which is measuring your project. When you hear the word metrics, sometimes I just assume it because the finance word. Metrics is just saying, okay, what are those items that I can use to know if I'm on track? And they are financial for the most part. So if you end up, that's why it's so important to realize, like, okay, I got my business, I'm ready to roll, but SCORE sometimes says, which is a super big belief of mine, so slow down a little bit. Make sure you have your ability to track what you're doing. Don't just jump in, start spending money, not have the bank account open, and just start seeing. You guys want to have that tool, whether it's QuickBooks or something, that you can then look back and go, oh, yeah, okay, I was selling, that particular product, I was selling at a loss. But so metrics, very important part of the puzzle. Which activities drive your product usage? Which statistics indicate how well your company's doing? What numbers best underline opportunity for development? So you want to know where to look. When Amazon in the online world came out in 1995, I had a company in 1998 that sort of proved that when everybody's like, wahoo, we got 1 million eyeballs to visit our site. And everybody's like, this is great. Well, really isn't great until someone does something, takes an action. So in Amazon's case, when you're driving people to your website or wherever you want them to buy your product or get your message, you need to make them do something. That's an important metric than just driving people to the website. So they sort of perfected, I need to know exactly how many I'm getting and how I can get them to better buy. The average sales price was important to them. The higher they can get that sales price, some would come in for tiny one book. If they can get it up for a whole series, they make more. Now we're getting a little tight, but total sales to visitor ratios, these are items that get into more of the online. But I just want to point out, well, this may be a good one. We didn't have as many good at this. I remember when we were doing in the food truck, it was more like, okay, it was a little bit not as what I just said. Financial people saying, okay, how fast can you prepare the food? Is the line too long? How much lower calories do you really have than someone else out there? They didn't like doing it. I sort of remember forcing them to say, guys, you got to drill down here. Like, can you really make that claim your calories are lower? Like, well, we know they're lower. Well, competitive pricing with a fast food place that's like, is walkable. All these things are huge to look into is what I want to send a message to everybody. And then what happens is taking data and you end up, what really was their key is what's selling best. That's data. The clients told us that this is going on. So what happens? You then say, okay, let's develop something more targeted to meet that audience. And that's how you use metrics to decide, wow, that's our next move. But those are making sure you track data. The math, I don't say the path to business success here. The math in general, it's not a nonprofit too, would be block 3, your revenue has to, I know it sounds simple, be greater than block 8, which we're going to touch on. That's where your cost, your operating cost to deliver what you're offering would then equal. That's the math. So these 2 blocks are very important. Don't fear that block 3 is going to take a time and you might not be positive. Most startups won't be. We always like to talk about, okay, now that you have the validity, you have your lean business canvas. I'm getting a slight bit ahead of myself because I have some time. So you have the canvas, start looking at it. One of the immediate things I do right after that is, what did we say was the second biggest challenge facing companies is running out of money. Okay, hey, this plan looks like it has opportunity to work. How much runway do we got? Now you're starting to dig. How much do we have? Some cash, and is it definitely going to need something? And you start talking through like, whoa, it may cost more than I thought. So can I do some of it at first? And I use the example, I felt so bad I couldn't catch it. I had a young girl, she loved designing. Fabulous person, people loved her bathing suits. And next thing I know, she went out and she spent all her money on bathing suits. And it was she didn't test it enough. So she ended up, and it's a lot, it was like $2,000 with the bathing suits in her garage that never moved. And it's just, again, I want you to test this before we pull the trigger the best we can. You're going to have challenges, and the good and the bad and the ugly. Cost structure. For those that aren't accountants, but what will it cost to launch and maintain your business? So make sure you hit, sort of that stages. Start, okay, I probably should put a word in there, start. I should be writing down launch, maintain, and then let's use the word grow too. The more we can dissect that down, the better chance we have of preparing for a surprise. Consider each stage of your startup as stage initiative. That's sort of what I just mentioned. Give an example. What is the cost to create, develop, and launch a solutions? Just adding sort of what I want out there. Cost of identifying customer targets. I know we sent that tool and there's a lot going on now. You may not be getting much into it, but boy, that tool has a lot of hints also to how you can tighten things up. So cost structure, back to Amazon. They had the website operations, they had the developers, they had their customer service staff and center. That was something new that, again, in perfected that, but that's a cost. These, I just wanted to think, what is taking me from right now to making sure that client does something. So they had their customer service staff. And then a big part of it, which is their logistical, how they delivered their part, how they delivered what people were ordering. The books, sorry, the books is a cost of sale. You may have heard that expression. You know, that's a cost of sale is, you know, a direct cost of you selling something. But plenty of resources SCORE has to work with that. Okay, Munch and Move. The cost structure there was to run was a goal of run at about 20% profitability. And that's, you know, block 3 revenue minus block 8, with some money to the owner and stuff, try to end up with about 20% left to either use to grow. God bless you, some of it for travel. But that breakdown of that cost structure was, you know, and a lot of times it falls into something like this. It was a baseline. There's definitely some fixed stuff that you'll have: salaries, maintenance, gas, 35%. 50% of it, most of it was ingredients and service, food, silverware, napkins, important to manage. I know it sounds really simple, but you get, the more granular you get about, wow, how am I getting napkins? And I should use more and more of these, and I do. COVID-19 has put an incredible new challenges that no one expected. The pizza guy can't get enough boxes. These are new challenges that I should have on that list that you're clearly developing. Is there some of those items you got to worry about? But cost-wise, you got to know, because pricing of boxing going up, or pricing of utensils for this case, you really got to think ahead as best you can. Marketing, I've seen people say, you know, marketing, I won't attribute. Yeah, I don't really got to do too much of that. I got so many people that want this already. I immediately hit the red light and I say, well, do a second. If you have people you know, that's great. Let's get them to help you even more. But we need to get you out there, get your name out there. And so a lot of times I really get discouraged if someone doesn't have any money allocated to that marketing line. So even if you're just working on your warm audience, you should be spending money. How are you going to work that audience? Block 9 is an unfair advantage. And a lot of you may have heard the expression unfair advantage, like, you know, this is more about how your customers, you know, how your service, what makes you stand out, rather than just completely blocking your customers. That'll never catch me. It's just what makes you stand out. Sorry about that. What puts you ahead of your competition? There's questions to think through as you try to start answering. What are some assets that you possess that can't easily be copied? Yes, some are hardcore products that can't be. In Amazon's case, their unfair advantage is what they've sort of built here: an unlimited selection of books with a great price and customer service. I mean, so it doesn't have to be, it was just a model that just was perfect for its time. But it doesn't have to be, you know, people are going to come in. If you're making money, generally what's happening, unfortunately, is everybody's like, whoa, he's making money, and maybe I should see how he's doing it, which is fine. Just keep, you just want to keep reassessing where you are. Hey, could I make more out of this? A big thing these days for companies that do exist, and I talk about this all the time. I've had so many people, myself included, work with 10 years. I've worked with clients, and half their clients no longer they're working with. So they say, until I sort of say, red light, guys, let's go back and mine is the word, dig into our past client contacts and start seeing if we can re-stimulate relationships with them. So many people have left all those names alone. And quite frankly, these days it's gotten so competitive to get clients that on average, it costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than work re-stimulating your relationship with the existing customer. And just as important, when you re-stimulate that relationship with a new customer, your profitability is usually at least 50% on what you're doing with them. But if you think about it, when you have to go out and chase another customer, it gets more expensive. So your profitability when you first get that new client, you're happy, but it's lower. So my main message is do not forget about what you've done in the past. That list that's sitting in somewhere, even if it's handwritten, get it typed in somewhere and think about what you can do with those people. The food truck business, in terms of their unfair advantage, it was really just played off the proprietary recipes, and the actual chef was known down the area, so that helped. But that's using reputation. And the food truck model is trying to still do a franchise. It never got there fully, but we've seen it now. Even companies are gravitating more. You make sure your model works. Could you replicate it? They definitely can. In those days, they were ahead of the game. Nowadays, you're seeing all pizza places develop a truck business. How efficient, how good can you do it? So you can't read this, or maybe some of you can, but that was the food truck on one page. All the items we went through. This is now a form that was done. That we haven't looked at it in a while, but it's a one-page document that the exercise went through many times. But I can guarantee if you just start walking through your pieces like this, and you end up even having this one page, the document we help, I want to go deeper, and you will inherently start typing a lot more about items in here, and you keep tweaking it back. You can send it to a score mentor, you kick ideas around, but when you get to the end of this, you can comfortably sit in front of someone. My family sometimes wonder what the heck I did. And you can sit in front of someone with this one document and talk through it instead of flipping through pages at first. And Tim, I think I'm just about there. I guess just one closing note would be, I wanted to do it first. You don't need to speed through it. Now, if anybody's out there starting to type in the link we sent or on the document, that's great. But you want to take your time, go through it slowly, and then share it though. Let's do this. Whoever's on the phone, if you really want to get out there and do it, fill out something, then go talk to someone. Instead of just saying, hey, I think I have this idea, just take a crack at this. It'll make your head, clear your head a bit about, hey, then you'll feel comfortable walking up with a piece of paper. But it has to be thought through. Important because once you've done that exercise, you don't have a business. Let's just make sure you have some assumptions on that piece of paper, technically, that you think will be a successful business. And then this third item, before we get, this is that almost ready to dive right in, you want to just keep testing it. And what does validity and testing mean? Definitely, talking to friends and family, but I've had people walk into just stores, custom stores in Fairfield that just say, would you like this? Would you do this? Would you like that? But they have their page in front of them. They have their validity. They're not showing it to the owner, but they're saying, this is our unique pitch. And there's so many people willing to help, especially these days, especially the local communities. You walk into stores now and you're younger or older, whatever, there's people to help, but you have to get out there talking. I spend so many times in a room thinking I have the best thing since sliced bread, and I walk out and I start doing things and I never got the true feedback I should, and I spent some money on it that I shouldn't. Once you feel comfortable with your lean canvas, it's time to dig. And this is the great part about working with SCORE and professionals, M&T Bank, is then you at least you feel more comfortable meeting with those people. So I would say send your first draft to SCORE mentor as soon as possible. I'm pretty much done, Tim.
Well, thanks, Bill. That was great. The examples are really important. It clicks with me, and I know it clicks with a lot of other people to actually see these complex questions in an example format. That's terrific. I would just say, everybody, if you have any questions, why don't you put them in the chat window? We'll take questions until 1 o'clock if we can. You can go back to the other page. We're not ready to wrap up yet. There was just one comment and I can explain it. It's in the Q&A section. He was just pointing out that the breakdown of the cost structure comes to 100%. Which is correct. 35, 50, and 15% were the numbers shown. on that block
yeah.
8 cost structure. But there's actually 2 points being shown on that. This is a breakdown of the cost. And then Bill was parenthetically saying that above the cost, his people were shooting to get 20% above the total cost structure. So in this example, if you were to round off and say $100,000, 35,000 was and 50 and 15 was the cost, and he'd be shooting for sales then of 125,000 to be able to get the 20% profit that he was looking from.
Yeah, great notice though. But yeah, it's just really saying, okay, what do you want? But breaking the mix. Great point. Thanks. But great notice too. It did add up. So this.
Yeah. So the link to the form was also in the chat window, and if you scroll back to the beginning, you'll see the link there. Also, if you've registered before 9:37 this morning, 9:37 we sent out the actual form to everybody who had registered. You can check your email for that. That's great. Most small businesses, I guess, startups, I've been told, are self-funded. So you don't need a full-blown business plan. A full-blown business plan is really necessary when you're going to a bank or for an SBA loan. You do need a full-blown business plan. But if you are starting off and self-funding, you still need to have a plan. And what Bill has just shown you today is a great exercise to synthesize it all down. I like your point that example for the food truck, nobody sat down and typed in those words on our first pass. This was the final iteration, because I know a lot of people could not have sitting down and came up with those bullet points right off the top of their head. This is probably version number 10 or something of them actually typing out full sentences along the way, which then get refined down to what you're seeing there. So that's an excellent point, Bill.
Yeah, and that's I have it up on the screen again. It's exactly that. All these iterations. I hope, and that other one we sent, the Word document, you can have pages to it, but at the end of the day, I don't work with anybody until they do this. Don't take that nasty. It just gets people's cleared up. They're trying to get notes. They don't know where to start. And, you go through this exercise. We've had people in a room, they get a little nervous at first, but you then say, just take a crack at it. And that's all I'm saying, because everybody is even scareder today, probably with COVID, what's going to happen. But it's an item that we have to, when we sit here going, okay, what's the cost? When we get down to that, is COVID going to impact it? Is the solutions impacted? But once you have it on one page like this, we can go, hey, is the problem still the same? Is the solution still, should I add some more? I don't know. You can tell I have some excitement on that, and, trying to, just using marketing is another.
Yeah, based on your many years of working with emerging businesses, the one attendee is asking, what do you think of franchising?
Okay, so probably asked me 5 years ago. I have to just say, I did not like the franchising business at all. I know a little bit about it. I'm gonna just have to caveat though, it all depends on what your franchise. You have to be very careful, because obviously anybody looking, there's a lot of them out there looking for changes in careers. You'll see a lot come in about open a franchise for this, open a franchise for that. I don't mind the model as long as you just do enough understanding of how much they're giving you for what you're paying. And this particular method of going through this it's going to fall out too, because for the most part, I have to say, I don't know, I want to throw exact, but I know we did it once. Most franchises fail because it costs too much to get in and you can't catch up. I know of a hardware business guy, that best guy around, he went into the hardware franchise just recently, and he just couldn't keep up with it. So I'm trying to hedge a little bit. I think the model, finding the right franchisor who they've gotten better, really can work now, because it can jumpstart. But I do want to stress, don't rush there. If someone's the power of marketing these days, guys, the digitally has leveled the playing field. And I think I'm probably repeating myself over and over. So what that franchisor is going to do for you is key to know. Because if they can't clearly show you an example of how they're doing things and driving customers, you know, that's going to be a piece of it. So I really danced around a little. I never liked the franchise models. Now it's cool. It's like finding Tim, you or myself being like really behind you. Is the franchisor behind you? So it's about how you structure that franchise agreement. And franchise, if anybody's ever been in it, the franchise agreement, when you get it, it's usually about 203 pages long. So I don't want to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We've had people say you definitely need to have a lawyer who's familiar with it to review those kind of agreements. There are places around. I know that FranNet has done presentations for us before, and their basic model is you can talk to them, you can work with them. You pay them nothing up front. They get all their money from the franchisors, I guess, or not from the people who end up buying the franchise. People who are selling the franchises. So it doesn't cost anything to find out more about it. Occasionally I will run into a mentoree that seems to be a good candidate, someone that say has a good business head on their shoulders, worked in a Fortune 500 company. They know the numbers. They've got money behind them. They may be dedicated vegetarians or something and want to open a vegetarian restaurant, but they don't know the business. They don't know the restaurant business. They don't know the vegetarian restaurant business. They need somebody to tell them where the best locations are and how to run it properly. And other people do it as a learning. They'll do a Domino's franchise or a Subway franchise for a few years. And then once they've learned the business, they may break off and go on and set up their own business.
Yeah, and just one other thing, Tim, which when I stressed it about, like, I've literally had companies have 6,000 names they never really went back and revisited about past clients, but something that's really powerful to think about now these days. So you have your revenue line. Then the concept of diversification. Can you do other stuff related to that? It's called value-added resellers. I'm not saying it's not necessarily franchise, but you should think through this because there's so many opportunities when you have a customer like I'm a tax guy, and that person may need some even cybersecurity stuff. I hope this is making sense, but you guys can always, there's a lot of them out there that you can sign up as a value-added reseller of their product. You just get a piece of the sale as they sell for referring people over. I just want people to think about that. It just doesn't have to be used. There's a lot of that going on, and it's not a franchise, Tim. I don't know if that made sense. It's just look for others out. There's a lot of them where you can add to your product that actually the client says, wow, thanks for introducing me to that, but you'll get a piece of whatever's sold there. Does that make any sense?
Right. Yep. Very good. Okay, so again, as a reminder, a recording of the webinar is available within a couple of days on our website. Please check our website for information on upcoming webinars. Again, SCORE offers free individual counseling, so please use the link on the screen or visit our website and click on Request a Mentor. We're available for sessions via phone, email, and video currently, and soon to be live, I guess. Also, please fill out your evaluations that have been sent at the end of the webinar. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's SCORE live webinar. In closing today, a big thank you to our sponsor, M&T Bank, and Bill Schloth. Bill, that was great. Thanks.
Okay, everybody have a good holiday.
Bye now.